Hi guys, I know that I am a little bit early, but I figured I'd turn the camera on because it always takes a little bit more work to be able to get it set up when it's just me in the office. So, how are you guys doing, Thelma and Irene? I was reading a little bit of what you had to say. Is there anybody else on the chat at this point? It is still a couple of minutes early, so um, I agree. Everyone is kind, and it's always a nice place to be able to come in and talk to each other. And you are absolutely correct. We have made friends along the way with each and every one of you. So, and even if you don't chat, we end up being able to talk to you on the phone at times. And it's wonderful to be able to know that everyone is there and that you count on them in various different ways. So, I thank you all for those things. Thank you also for your kind compliments yesterday and today. I appreciate it. You know, Brittany and I had originally started What's New Wednesday prior to COVID. Debbie had done something like it, but not like what she does now. And so we were starting a What's New Wednesday to show people what was in the store. And we videoed it downstairs. And we got Brittany to agree to be on camera. And that's why Brittany's picture is always up for the What's New Wednesday. And so I was thrilled because I got to just talk behind the scenes and not have to end up looking into a camera. So to me, that's always very terrifying. Oh, look, I've spent enough time talking. It is now 4 o'clock. But anyways, it was kind of funny because yesterday I thought I can do What's New Wednesday. It's not a problem. I don't necessarily, and I still don't like being in front of the camera, and that's hard for me, but it is so much easier to do a What's New Wednesday. And I think that I should just trade Debbie and not do Thursday classes. And I'll just do some What's New Wednesdays for her instead. I don't think I'll get away with that though, guys. Well, this week in the shop, we've been going through a lot of all of our waxes and getting them all organized. And Debbie's been working on it for a very long time. And so we're now to a point where we are almost ready to start taking it downstairs, and people have started ordering. So it's kind of neat to see the different people and what they like and making decisions on what they want to have or what suits them. And so I love it. It's great. My mouth is so dry. So this always happens when I get on here. Alrighty. So this is a class that we are going to have to book it through if we're going to even get close to making it through. But I just couldn't pass up some great ideas. And I just had a blast. And so because of that, you get to see the blast that's going to blow all over this table in just a little bit, because I'm going to make a huge mess. So I hope that you got your seatbelt, strap in, get comfortable, get something to drink, get something to eat, wake up a little bit if you need to, whatever it is, because we are going to be Zooming today. So, and I feel extremely uncomfortable trying to make these things happen fast because, as you guys know, I'm not the fastest crafter. Yes, messes are fun until I have to clean them up. Okay, so I'm going to show you, so then that way we can still let a few people come and join. A sermon, Glenn. Oh no, this is not a sermon. This is we've got to book it and get through lots of different things. So the things that I got from downstairs when Debbie asked if I could do this class, that I could do this Thursday. And she's pretty good about letting me decide what I want to do. So this is the little birdies, and I've been eyeballing it for quite a while downstairs. We haven't done any of them in a class yet. And they are beautiful, beautiful papers. And then I also got the flower and lace version of the foiled fancies. We've got some butterflies downstairs and some other flower pieces that are a little bit more distinct. Like you can tell that it's a daisy or you can tell that it's a rose. These are just kind of some fun and fancy things to do. And I told Debbie, I said, we've had these for a really long time and we've gone through quite a few of them. Many people have purchased them, but we're not quite sure of exactly what to do with them. And I said, so I'm going to see if I can figure out ways to do that. Now, what I failed to do is pay attention to the back, and it has some ideas for you to be able to do and make the foils the focal point. But I use them as background pieces to the kit. So I'm calling it a kit because this is an artful card kit that Hot Off the Press makes. You've got toppers and papers and extra little goodies for decorations. And it's usually when we have these, they're chock full of things. I really like these because these are foiled. So you can see on there that there's foiling on the kit. So these are the two things that we're using. And I'm going to tell you now that you have to stick through to the very end when we're done, because I have a couple of things that I am going to add to this here towards the end. I want you to be able to know that there's a surprise coming at the end. Okay, so when I did that, I thought, oh, well, it's hot off the press. I am going to go ahead and I'm going to pull out a couple of other things that we don't typically use very frequently. And we have them at the store, and some people will like them this way, and some people will like them in their templates. So we have templates that can make cards and card sizes. And so we are going to go through and actually make a couple of the cards. This one is the pop out card easel template. It has both a label and a heart. I already did an example with the heart. And so this afternoon, we're going to use the label side of this. And what's nice is that if you do decide that you want to do it, but you don't want to have to cut or work on your pattern, then you also have many of them that you can purchase. Now, there aren't as many as what we used to have. So if you do like this idea, you may want to grab it while you can, because I went to go do inventory, and I think our inventory is a little off, and I don't think that we have as many as it says. So that being said, we may have some more somewhere else, and I'll have to ask Brittany tomorrow if we do. So this one is the heartfelt, and I'm now going to zoom right on in and tip the camera down. And I usually try and do these things for you upside down. I don't know that I'm going to be able to do that today, but I'll do the best that I can. So this is the Heart Pop Out card set. You get 4 cards and 4 envelopes, but it's not just like a card blank. It's an actual shaped card. There's the pull up, and it has 5 cards and 5 envelopes in it. And this one, I don't have the template for. I wish I did. I think that I have it in my own personal stock at home, but we don't have them for sale anymore in our store. Anyways, they're called, so you got to get it here, or you got to get their CD-ROMs that have all the creative cards on them. And that's how I have a lot of mine. So these are the 4 cards, and then there's tags that go with it, and then 4 envelopes. So it's called the Double Pocket Treat. And so let me show you what I already made. We're going to make a different version out of the sets that we have. So these are the 3 main focal points. So the card kit, rather than going through all the pages at this point, I'm just going to go through and show you what I did, and then we'll go from there. So this is a starting point. It's a little bit bigger, thicker here for a DL card, but a lot of times your DL cards are a little bit bigger than the cards, I've noticed. And so I really think that this should fit. It's only got maybe 1/4 of an inch hanging over on the back side. And I couldn't decide what I wanted to put here. So I left it empty to try and see, oh, maybe I have a sentiment, or maybe I'll put some flowers in there. I haven't quite decided, but this was kind of one of the last ones that I put together really quick because I wanted to have just the cards that we were going to make today. And then I wanted to have lots of examples so that you can see how many things that we have that we can make in this kit. So this is one set, and these are the foiled fancies that are on that separate page. And we'll talk a little bit about how to cut them out so that they look like they came out without having all the string. They kind of have little cardboard areas to keep them attached and flat instead of just tossing a whole bunch of the chipboard foil. And theirs is a little bit thinner than typical chipboard. It's kind of a mix between ephemera and chipboard, but they keep all theirs flat. So they attach it all with these little tiny things right here. And so you have to be able to keep an eye on what you're clipping and when you don't want to clip something or when you do want to clip something. So we'll talk about that as we go. These were just kind of some simple ones to get me going last night while I'm trying to get motivated to do this. I haven't been feeling completely awesome. And so this last week, I really went, I've got to make cards. Okay. All right. Hi, Truth. Hear it? I don't know who you are as far as the name. So if somebody can help me, unless Truth is your name, which I like that idea too. Yes, you can get CD-ROMs still in computers. And you can download them onto a hard drive or I downloaded all of mine, and they actually are saved in my Amazon photos because I have unlimited things in my Amazon account for holding all of my pictures for free. And so with that, these were things that I could also put in that section. So they're storing them for me. Thank you very much. And I don't have to fight with it. And then I just have a nice little binder that tells me what the pictures are of each of the cards. And then I know to go in with that name and look for it in my files, and I can pull anything up and print it out now. So it's really great how you can take those CD-ROMs and make them into digital pretty simply. So this one, I've used black cardstock, and I've got a beautiful set of papers right here. I've got a couple of layers, and I'm not remaking these cards. So this is the reason why I'm kind of telling you about it a little bit. So I've added a butterfly here from the foiled fancies. I've got tucks of swirls that I cut them. This is one swirl, and I cut them to separate them out. And then it has a thank you, a little sentiment on it from the kit. And these papers do come with the kit, the background papers, and then whatever the toppers are that you have. So this one was really pretty, in my opinion. Let's see here. Oh, upside down. Okay, so I had fun with this one. I wanted to do this, and I knew that I wanted to do this as soon as I saw it. And that is that one of these is huge. One of these foil fancies, this one right here, it is so big. And I thought, oh, I have to cut that in half. This is going to be something that should be a lot of fun. And so I went through and I carefully cut it in half. and then took it and made a gatefold out of it. Took one of my toppers off the top and then made the gatefold card with it. It made it really easy and simple. You don't have to do a lot because that foiling just takes it over, and this picture is just really beautiful. So this one says best wishes. I know that sometimes foil's hard to see on the computer, so hopefully I don't have too much reflection there for you. And they are gold. On the TV screen, it's almost looking green, but it's just the reflection of the colors that are around me and the colors that are on the card. Okay, so those are your simple basic ones. And if someone has a question on how to go about in doing any of these, and you're like, how did you do that? You can always let me know, and I can try and answer and try and keep answering questions. But as you guys know, I get involved. So those of you who know me. So yes, I did this on my trimmer. I didn't trust myself to make the exact straight line. Being left-handed with scissors that I cut with my right hand does not always lend to the straightest cuts. So I tend to use my trimmer more frequently than a lot of other people do. Okay, so from here, these are the cards that we're going to work on today. I have different covers for each. I have different papers and different covers, but we're going to make the exact same shape card. So this one is the pop out heart. And I think I'm going to just back this up just a little bit so that you guys can see. So when you open it, you've got this lovely little piece that's on the inside, and it's such a nice surprise, but it lays flat. So when you open it, it pops out intentionally by the way in which it's made. So when you open it, you've got a nice little piece. Now, I could have decorated the insides in here and put some things on it, but to be honest with you, I was already working hard, and there was no way that I could do that in class time. It just isn't feasible. It would take me forever, and you would sit here and go, what? So this is one of those fancies. I took some of the background paper and I put it behind it and glued it onto the foiled fancy, and then I just cut around. You don't have to cut any of the foiling because you can literally, it kind of sets out from the side, and you can really notice and cut it without ever touching the foiling itself. So I've got that backing. I used a little bit of border from one of my toppers, and then I used foam squares and built it up along with the lovebirds and the little hearts that I glued on. And then on the inside, this is really kind of neat how, if you see how, we're going to see how it works here in just a little bit, but I wanted to kind of show you what it's like too. So this is the mechanism that holds your card into place, and it truly makes this go forward in your card. And you have a shape, and like I showed you, this one's the heart one, and the other one is the label looking one. I did ink around all of my edges because with the cardstock being and the cards being white, you could really notice them with such dark colors. So I went through and I took a brush and I just covered all those little edges so you can't see any white. And then you just slide it right into its spot. I did put some foamies on the back so that they will hold it in place and maybe not move in the transportation, because you can absolutely put this in an envelope and mail it to anybody. So you take and you put it between your topper and the heart so that you can slide the heart into this little mechanism right here. So this is basically a little section that got peeled out of the set, You slide that down onto it. And then you take and you push up through the bottom. And you put that one up and over the top. And then I tried to tuck it in and hide it so that it wasn't quite as noticeable. So I tucked that also in between the topper set so that it just kind of looks like, oh, that's the way the card is. It's separated. Well, it's separated for a reason, but nobody else is going to know that that's the trick. So it is really cool. We're going to make a card like this, not this exact card, but a card like it. And the next one is your pull out. Is it a pull out or a pull up? I think that it's a pull up. Yes, it's a pull up is what they call it. So I have taken and I've just inked around my edges to give it some color and background to it. And then I added in, and they give you sections for being able to cut out these patterns really simply and easily, and you'll see that as we go along. So put my background paper on, gave it a decoration, and I put my well wish on the front because you're going to get a surprise when you open it. And so this one says, get well wishes. So as we open it, it's got some really pretty flowers on it, and oh, look, it's a birdie. And not only is that a birdie, but look at that behind it. Isn't that fun, guys? It says, I hope you're feeling better really soon. It was so much fun to fiddle with these. So I think that you guys are going to have fun seeing how to do it. And then you've got this entire card that will open up. Again, I think that if I had inked on the inside or I had put in a background layer, I think I would have liked it a little bit more. But it was my first time making one. So I thought, well, hey, got to give it a try, right? Don't know until you try it. So that's that one. And then this is the last one. So this one is called the double pocket treat. And it's created so that you can send it with tags. You can put gift cards in it. I just put a couple of little tea bags in there that happen to match these colors. And it's got extra little pockets. So you can put these little things in here. And this one says just for you with little birds. And there's one of those fancy foils. And then on the other side, you can make a verse. So this one I'll pull out the other side to see it. But this was a space where I thought that maybe some words of encouragement could go, whether you want to write it out yourself, or you can always use some of the comfort and sympathy pieces or love pieces, verses that Debbie has on the website that she took the time to make for everyone. We still have them. They're still for sale. And I thought that I would have time to be able to put that on, but I did not. So on the other side, and as you saw, I hid my little tea bag in there. Yeah, the Hunky Dory did not. This is hot off the press. But they do have some foiling. They have a lot of foiling toppers and things like that. So Hunky Dory has its own types of Miri gold foilings. We've got acetate with butterflies and snowflakes that are done by Hunky Dory in golds and silvers. And then they have a lot of different types of Miris that you can use with your sets. So theirs is a little bit more versatile, and you can use it with your die sets very easily, and make all of them yourself and use them over and over again. So this is the other side. Isn't that pretty? And this one says, may cherished memories bring you moments of comfort. And then I have my little tea bags in there. I've put my little foiled fancies on. And that's what they're called from hot off the press. So if you're looking for them online, you may want to type in foiled fancies. It might be fancy foils. No, it's foiled fancies. I did remember it correctly. So these are the 3 cards that we're going to make. And then if I have time, I have a surprise one for you that I made up myself, and I had a lot of fun doing it, and I just had to, because it was something that was saying, hey, 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 pay attention. So we'll put the little pocket one up, and I think that we are going to start with the which one is this? Yeah, the pop out one. So you're going to take, and you can take your white cardstock, or you can take something like this, and you can actually, because it's smooth on the back and has linen on the front, you can take your pieces and you can put your template right on top. And I'm going to turn it around for you. So what you're going to do is you can see where the holes are around, and that's your pencil guide so that it stays straight. The templates have directions on them, so you can follow them, or you can get the ones that are cards first and play with those a few times. But I think that these are really simple, and they do not take up a lot of space. I have literally like a little file folder that holds your papers normally for magazine holders, and I just have all my templates slid in there, and it works great. So I have a pin so that you can see this. You're going to come through with your lines, and this I've put specifically down at the bottom because I know that I'm not going to cut it out because it's at the bottom, but I'm still doing it all the way through so that you guys can see. It has little breaks in it, so I don't know, I think they were trying to just give it places to give it a firm hold, and then you have to kind of lift when you hit a bump in the road. We'll just call them bumps in the road. And your goal is to fill each and every whole line and then let's see, center fold. I don't know why they've put this piece of plastic right here. I don't know if they thought maybe they needed to have a little bit longer of a hold, but the other way worked just fine. So I don't think that you need to do that. And then I have my pop out piece that this has 2 sections. So your first one is your outer mat, and your outer mat is what your actual form of pop out is. So that heart that you saw, that was one of these cut out as a heart shape. And then you'll see how it has a very thick piece around it. And that's because you then take and you move it through here. And then you have your second. So you can basically take 2 different pieces of paper and make 2 of them, one on the outside and then cut that out, and then one for the inside and then cut that out. So I kind of used them all at the same time. That's the inside lines, and I forgot. I was just kind of tracing around for the other lines. So sorry, got sidetracked. So this, they call it the small label, and then this is the big label. And if you are curious, This is the stencil number is 7447, and we still have them in stock. I made sure that we had some as well as in the store, so then that way you could make them from either direction. So now I have all of my diagram pieces for the card. Now, I'm not going to sit here and cut it all out, because if I did, this would take forever. So Debbie hates when I say these things, but I get to say them because I get to be on tonight. So that gives me the opportunity to say it. So from the magic of internet, hi, Mary R. I've kind of tucked all my pieces that I want to have in here. So from here, you would normally have cut out your pieces, and then you have this fold and this fold. That's why they've got the lines. They're not all cutting lines. Some of them are for marking your fold places. So you'll want to keep track of which ones are your folds. This one is one, and this one is one, and then there is one right in here. So each of these, they get cut out, but you do still have a fold line right here. So and then these, when you cut them out, you'll also have these, but it does not have any folds in them. It's just going to be your card placements. So here's your fold line, here's your fold line, and then there's one fold line right through here. So I've already pre-cut some of my pieces, and so we're going to give this a shot. So I've got my fold lines here and here that I've already folded. And then I have this piece that you are actually going to pop out of there. So if this was the other cards from the actual cutting from the template, I used a little X-Acto cutting blade to be able to make this slit very easily. Otherwise, it's really hard to get in there and try and cut around it. So I recommend having one of those little blades around. And then you just set that one piece aside. You don't use it again. It also shows you that you're going to cut right here and right here on each side. So this we're cutting out, and then this is your lines that you have to cut. So here are the two little spaces, one at each point, and that's because that's where you're going to put your label and your heart. So you want to make sure that you fold the correct direction, because you want the card to pop out. So you're going to take and find your pieces, and you will already have those two little score lines, and it just naturally folds just like that. And that's all there is to it to set it up. So it's not hard. It doesn't take very long. The time is taken by me because I try and do it exactly the way that I hope that it will turn out, and then sometimes it doesn't. So then I want to start over again. So that was what happened this time around when I was cutting my pieces ahead of time. This is a 2.5-inch section by 6-inch section. So each one of these are 2.5 by 6. So I thought that I would be smart and just cut a 5 by 6 and then cut it down the middle. Well, I think my trimmer slipped a little bit, and I ended up with some pretty wonky lines. So I had to straighten them out, which means that I've got a little bit of white showing, but I don't think that that matters with this one in particular. I'm going to use my tape flags because I have to make sure that I give it the right spacing to line them up. I might have to take my little jacket off. Might get in my way. So I'm just going to come right in here, line it all up the way that I want it. And for newbies, tape flags are when you use your double-sided sticky tape I've already applied it to my pieces. And you just pull off a little tiny section of each. So then that way, that's where you can line up perfectly. And then you just pull your tabs and voila, it's exactly where you want it to be. And then you've gotten it on straight. All right, I'm going to try and keep the table as clean as I can, because otherwise it gets really, it gets a little crazy really quickly because there are so many pieces to this kit. Trying to keep track of, well, I want to use that one and I want to use that one. And oh, maybe I'd like to use that one. So that's what happened in my case. I got distracted. Okay, so. And hot off the press makes this card kit so that it is, it has very specific toppers that go with specific things. The colors are all different on each of these pages. So, okay. So I've got tape flags, other side. Get it all set up. Beautifully done. If I do say so myself, hey, when it goes right, it's wonderful. I never know what's going to happen. So I always just cross my fingers and hope. Okay. Where did I put my example? Here it is. See, you lose things already. Okay. So this one, I've used a big fancy, a border, and then I've created a vocal point with a fairly small little topper, honestly, but it fills up this space quite nicely. Oh, the delightful die cut books are really beautiful. And yeah, I have a feeling that Debbie's going to have to probably order some more because I have a feeling they're going to be going out the door very quickly. So this is the topper that I chose to put in this one this time. And this is the perfect time to show you, when you buy it, what you get in your kit. When you buy their heartfelt kit, I should say. So you've got examples showing you everything that you've got. And this is the topper set that I chose to work with first. Look at that, isn't it beautiful? I love the colors. They are so fun. And then you've got background papers, and you really just kind of have to decide which background papers you're going to use with what. So they're only one-sided, so you have to be really careful in making sure that you use it in the right places, or else you won't have enough. I actually had almost all of this page still left over, and it's just because I thought that I was going to be able to put it with something, and I decided it didn't look quite right. I used a little tiny piece to cut out an edging in one of my sayings so that I could make it a little bit bigger. So these are the background pages, and they're just light papers. They're not cardstock. So just a heads up. So you want a good card base when you're making these, I guess is my point. All right. This is the other topper set. And the other topper set. And the other topper set. So they are definitely different styles as well as different colors. And so you just kind of have to pick and choose what you want to do. So going back to this one, I chose this one. This one right up here. I chose the Sending You Joy. I chose the Little Bird. And then I took a couple of the hearts and the flowers. I think there's one flower here and there's another, there's like little flowers here and there. So, and little hearts throughout. So you just want to grab those and have them kind of set aside. Like I have my little pile of foil fancies over here so that I can grab them at any point in time to want to use them. But having your little extras really helps when you're trying to find a filler, which really was needed with the tags and pocket tags. So as you can see, I already have pre-cut my linen to be my label. And I had cut my patterns ahead of time so that I could cut these out fairly quickly. So this is the size of the actual pop out. And if you had areas that were going to show, but you will see here in just a moment, it takes up pretty much the whole thing. So I didn't feel like it was necessary to make a inner mat with my background papers. Instead, I just left it out for this one, whereas in the other one, I did put the mat down. So with this, there are two things in order for this to fit in the card. You have to trim back right here. You've got 1, 2, 3 little leaves right there. And you have to cut them a little bit closer to the green and get the most of the brown off. And then you have to cut these tips right here. See that little tip? You just run it straight through and it looks perfect. Nobody would know that it had tips. See? It doesn't look odd. It doesn't look strange. But if you don't, it won't fit inside the card. It won't fold all the way in. So you'll need to make sure that you do that. So I worked on my card from inside to outside. And then that way I knew exactly how it was going to lay. And it looks like I left a few little ink marks on there. So I'm going to get them off real quick. It probably won't even be noticed. They'll probably be behind the bird. So in this particular case, it's kind of just being a support piece for the bird. But I wanted my linen card to look pretty at least. Okay, so I am not going to fill the inside of it like I had here. I think that it looks beautiful, and I think that you should take the time to line it. I think that it really adds to it, but for time purposes, I didn't want to add any more extra time in. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your bird and figure out how and where you want it to sit on this, because when you put it in, you want to make sure that it's going to fit. So let's move my mat more to the center. And then there's my bird placement. So that's exactly where I want the bird placement to be. So I am going to take this and I'm going to take my tacky glue, or you can use foamies. I didn't use foamies on the big pieces on the inside because I wanted my card to be able to stay flatter. So it is not built up. Is everything making sense so far? I think that I'm going through it slowly enough, but I also know that I'm skipping some steps just to be able to show you guys all this fun stuff today. By doing it this way and having that little bit of mat showing, I should have probably have made sure that I was just gluing to the mat and not to the card. So I'm going to have to pull it out and wipe some of that excess away. Let's see. I know that I've got a few wipes around here. So I heard from some people yesterday when I was reading that you guys had some storms that were still happening. And I heard on the news that they were possibly expecting snow again on the East Coast somewhere. I know that they said it, but I couldn't tell you where they said that it was going to be. I'm sure that it was probably in one of the northern areas. Yep. See, I got a little bit of glue on the edges this way. So glue it to the mat only. You don't want to push it down all the way because you want to hide that little white bar in there. So if you notice, I didn't put them all the way down in both of those sections because I want to put that little white tab right in there so that you don't even notice it. And then I push it down. So it almost kind of glues it into place. But you don't have to glue it. It really truly is being held by just those little tabs, and it will keep holding it. I mean, it's not going to go anywhere. Just got to make sure that the glue doesn't stick. And I put in a cover when we're done, when I have a little bit more time. So there's the starting point, and it's beautiful, and it's on the inside, and you would think, oh, this should be on the outside, but it's just surprising how that works. Yes, Thumma, it does help that I make sure that I've got all my measurements done and everything like that. What doesn't help is that I just did these cards last night, but I can't remember some of the steps as I made them because I don't always keep my memory really well. So sometimes it's going to be fun. All right, so from here, I'm going to move on to the outside. I know that when I was looking at the way that this was set up, I thought, you know, it would look really neat if I could set up the bird in a way that made it look like it was kind of just tucked in to this area. Because I don't have the round one anymore because I used it on that one. But I thought, you know, if I give it enough oomph and enough height, it could be a lot of fun that he could just be hanging out in there. And I say he because he's full of colors, and we know that the boy birds have lots of colors. So this has to be a he. I'm going to try and line up my foiled fancy so that my two pieces right here are going to be exact. And I'm just making this into a gatefold. I'm not cutting this one in half. So I'm just doing the exact same kind of idea that I did for that one. Most people will glue the left-hand side. It doesn't matter. It's just which one is going to open first for your person that you are giving it to. They may be a little surprised if it's not set up that way. So I've kind of got my point here and my point through here. And I was looking, so I think that this should be a good spot for where I'm going to put the glue. It doesn't hurt anything. You can always go back in and wipe some off. It's part of the reason why I like glue for these types of projects, just because they take a little bit more sturdiness, and it also allows it to be a little bit of a stronger so if you see, I don't want to touch that other side with glue. And I think that I might have a little bit. Yep. That's okay. That's what baby wipes are for, don't you know? Not diapers. Fixing the mistake in your crafting. Okay. Then, because you're sliding that into place, you don't want to end up having glue everywhere on it. So you want to make sure that you got that all wiped off and that everything is dried from inside and out before you close this, because you don't want it sticking together and making it not easy to open. So just make sure that you've cleaned it all up. And that's what's neat about these foiled fancies. They just wipe right off, just like our Miri, Hunky Dory Miri stuff. It allows us to do that as well. I just called it stuff. Well. Okay. So I think that I want to take and put this up on some of my bigger foamies, just so that it's fast. And this does have as 2 layers to it, so you can always pop one out of where it's at and then build that on some more foamies if you wanted to. So you could have this layer and then another one of foamies. And I'm going to have my little bird sticking out too. Best trick ever for your foamies. Cut it through on your little stickum thing and it won't stick to your... I can't believe that that's how it works, but it does not stick when you have them set up this way. If you keep it on these little papers and you have it on both sides, it will not stick. But if you try and go in right here and try and cut it, you will have a huge mess because it's not attached on the bottom side. Go figure. I need it a little bit skinnier because the tail's a little skinny. The name of this card, the kit is called Little Birdies from Hot Off the Press. But don't go in and buy it quite yet. Remember, I have that surprise at the very end. And then I just thought that it would be sweet to add in a few extra little flowers because this one doesn't have a lot of flowers. Keep in mind, I was using the leftovers. So, I've got some gold butterflies in my foiled fancies. Oh, this is a perfect opportunity. So when you are coming to the point where you need to cut them, it has like a little, just a very, very tiny little space that shows that this is the angle that you cut it at. It has an indent, and I'm going to try and bring it in enough. Sometimes it won't work for me. It just makes it all. Wow, my hands are inky. Right in here, you can see that there's a raised spot, and you can see it there. It's really hard. You can see it if you're kind of looking straight on. It's just raised right here, and then the little stem is not raised, so your foil fancy will stick out in comparison to where you have these sticks. You'll see like a little tiny line, and the best thing to do is just kind of follow that line But if you do it straight across, I notice you notice it. But if you kind of just waver your scissors just a tiny bit, it just comes right off, and you wouldn't know that it existed and was there. So that is the trick to getting them off their little sticks and sticking together. Now, the last time that I did one of these, it took forever to stick onto the card with just the body. So hopefully it's going to. Oh, those almost, let me back up again. Those almost blend in too much. So I think I'm going to go with the lighter pink. Put on pink butterfly. Oh, how neat is this? And this was not set up this way, I promise. It just kind of hit me all of a sudden, and it's kind of making me laugh because I couldn't have planned this better. So on my Little Birdies, hot off the press, I am using Little Birdies handmade flowers. So it's the Little Birdie brand flowers that we have that just came in about a month ago. We fortunately were able to find a place for all of them. The glue is tacky glue, the Eileen's tacky. This one's super thick. It's funny because I was using this for a really long time, and Debbie said, I don't understand how you can use that. It's got such a big hole. And I said, I really like it this way. It lets me put what I want to on, and it seems to hold really well. And I said, I really like using it. And then she started using it for her more 3D craft projects, like the albums and things. And so she was kind of changing the way that she was using things. So now she uses it just as much as I use it. Actually, probably more now. Okay, so here is our first card. And watch, I just glued it down to the other side with my flowers. Ha ha ha, just kidding. Well, that is a life lesson to learn, isn't it? Okay, so we'll have to keep some down and some up. And that's the answer to that. So some had to go back onto the foilies a little bit better. And then your card pops out. And right now, it will take a little bit of time. The more that you open and close it, it does change it. And it will fold and pop out even more so. But it all comes together, makes a single card, and then you open it up for this beautiful inside. I think that Cosmic Shimmer is great, and it would be my next go-to. But I tend to only use those when I'm using really fine, when I'm doing really tiny stuff. And I found that otherwise, if you cut this just right, you can get it to where there's not a lot that comes out. It doesn't just fall out of the glue bottle and start running everywhere. I feel like it needs something more. So there's one more butterfly. So I think that it just depends on what. Isn't it thick? It is, but because of the foil, I found that just the other kind of glue just was not having it attach very well. So in this particular case, I am using it. Like I was saying, if I am doing hunky-dory toppers, I find that there's no need for me to have to use such a bulky glue. But with having the foiled chipboard, it seems to want to be a little slick. So, and we're also doing cards that have movement. This isn't just a, yes, Glenn, that's a great idea. With these cards, they're going to be moving a lot, hopefully, because somebody else should be getting a kick other than me in the fact that these cards move. I like it anyways. There we go. Foamy end of the wing and the little body. So there we go. So that's our pop out card. And again, like I said, you just got to kind of move it, play with it a little bit. I think that probably needed a little bit of a better fold. And I will either come back in here and at a later point in time and put backing paper on the inside, or I may ink it, because I found that inking really worked very nicely with this. And you'll see why I say that. So there we go. Ah, now it pops out almost immediately. I just had forgotten to fold right there on the little ridge on each side. So there's a fold in the middle, but then that ridge on each side of it also needs a little fold. And I may find that I have to trim that little tiny corner right here a little bit better, because it seems like it's catching just a little tiny bit. But I notice it, but I doubt that someone else will notice it until they're getting ready to close the card. So those are the pop outs. And let's see. Oh, let's do this one next. Okay, so this is our pull up. So we've got outside, lots of decoration, kind of make this be a surprise that it's where it is and what's there, because nobody's going to think that some beautiful bird is up underneath that get well statement. Let's see. Where did I put it? This is important. Okay. So with this one, I decided that rather than having one all ready to go, like I did the other one, I am going to go ahead and go through and cut these pieces because I want a black card. That's really what it boils down to. I want a black card. Okay. So this is the card set for it. This would be the card that you would get in the bag of pre-made cards. Yes, the idea of shipping it during the winter is important. We always wrap ours in bubble wrap. And if the weather is really bad, we've been known to say we can't ship it right now because we don't want it to go bad in the cold. So this is what the card piece does. It folds on each side and it makes a little pocket right here. And so you're going to take your Eileen's super glue stuff, not super glue, but tacky glue, or you can use the red tacky tape. So it's totally your choice. Because it is handy, I'm going to just use the Eileen's. So fun fact to this is that I am on black and I'm trying to make a template. I don't know if the wax will show up. Okay, I moved my template all the way to the bottom because I don't want to waste any of my cardstock. Okay. Let's see if this does the trick. Nope. All right. I need to go find the white pin really quick because I didn't. Well, maybe I can see it with the pin. Let's give it a try. It's hard to see with the black on the line. Can't really see the grooved holes in it. Just like anything else, you want to make sure that that you're going to keep your paper in place. On here as well is a little tiny word, and it says fold. So it points at which line is a fold and which line is a cut. So, and I think I got them all. And I already put together and started using my my extra pieces on my pull-out or pull up section of the mechanism. So I'm going to just go ahead and leave it this way since it is already dark. I think that it will be just fine. I'm not going to make one of these this time. Oh, and keep in mind that on the template, this is your inner card right here. If you have the card, the actual cards, the one thing to know is that some of these come with little patterns in them. And even though they've done all of this on the back side of the actual pictures, on the back side is where you're going to find your patterns. So you would cut this out in order to be able to make your little inner piece. It goes right in here. This one's a little bit bigger because remember, you have to do this inside. So this is the pattern if you don't want it. This is the pattern if you want it edge to edge. If you don't want it edge to edge, then you're going to want to bring it in about 1/4 of an inch on all sides. Okay, so let's see. And make sure that I don't mix new with old. So, oh yeah, I can totally see these lines. It'll be just fine. The only thing is finding a place for everything. So make sure that you cut the right places. Don't cut those fold lines if they're not supposed to be cut. And I made sure that I used the back side of the back side of the linen paper because otherwise the texture side will make it much harder for you to be able to get your lines straight, because it will go in and out of those ridges of the linen paper. I know it seems so simple, like, duh, you wouldn't draw on that side, but when you're not thinking about it, that's when you do it. Case in point, I had to cut out that little pink piece. Remember? I had some lines on the outside front. Because I used a pin, it didn't bounce too much on the front of that pink, but it could have, and I might have had to start all over again. So okay, so now I know that we've got folds here. Let me get the rest of this paper out from underneath. And we have a fold here. And we know that these get glued right up on here because we already talked about it. And you would have read your instructions with your template or with your card pack. Unless, it's a who doesn't, don't need directions. What, directions? That's what my husband would say. And then he started saying, well, it's because I have a Margie. Back when Tom-Toms were a thing. I don't think Tom-Toms really happen anymore. I don't hear about it anyways. But he used to sit there and say, I have a Margie. We didn't have smartphones for a really long time. Kind of made the decision that wasn't where we wanted to invest a lot of our money. And so I read maps all the way through into the new era. So even probably right before we moved here, which is now about 13, 14 years ago, we were still using maps, paper maps. But try finding those anymore. You can't. And now your phones come in so handy. You might as well use them, right? Okay. So I've now glued it, put it all together. Look, pretty simple, pretty easy. And then I have my top line that comes down like this. And the line seems odd, but it's because you have to put the mechanism right here onto the page. So you can do it one of two ways. You can slip it in here first and then close it and see exactly where you need to be. Because if you don't, you will find that you'll hit the bottom when you go to close it. So you want to make sure that you stay within the space of the inner pull out portion. You want to stay within the size of the pattern. You can make it smaller, but it's really hard to make it bigger. I did make mine bigger, but I had to make sure that I was just doing it exactly just so. And so then that way it wouldn't possibly bump on the bottom of the card and not close. Hi, Kim. Oh, trying to get rid of the part that I'm trying to cut. Okay, so because this is just a backing piece and you have a little bit that shows, I had this nice pretty black from the other card that I had. It's got a really nice texture to not to the card itself, but the picture has a nice texture to it. It almost looks like wallpaper. And I have a special thing called one of these. And so I'm just putting that line in the middle. So that's why it's there, because I used 2 scraps to be able to get it out of this piece. So now I've got this. And here's the other thing. You can have it a little bit wider than what this is. You just don't want it longer. Or you have to move it up higher into your card. And then, like I said, it's a little bit of finagling, but it is doable if you want to make it bigger. But you can make it a little bit wider, and I haven't really seen a problem, except for you're just going to want to make sure that it's going to fit. So obviously, if the constraints don't let you do it, then you can't do it. But I know that by doing this, and I can see it slides right in, it's going to do just fine. Now, you never know. This will be one of those times where I'll say something and then I'll find out that I was very, very wrong. I think that I need to use a little bit of black ink. Of course, it flew all the way down onto the ground. Okay. I'm just finishing off that card so that you won't see the white on the edges. It decided to fall really far down onto the ground. Okay. Just kind of noticed I got a little extra, and this is a hybrid ink, so it's probably not going to come out very well, but that's okay. Okay, so we're going to use our Aleene's again. Uh-oh, I set it up right. Hi, Kim. Now, this is the one part about the tacky glue that I don't like, is if I sit it up right, I have to get the glue to get all the way down to the bottom again. There's a cup for that. They actually make a cup thingy that will hold your nozzle and everything in a place as a hold so that it stays upside down. I cracked up when I saw it. I thought, man, should have thought of that earlier. All right, so this piece I want to slide in first, and I've just glued the flap, and I'm going to put it right above the fold line of the top of the card. And the reason for that is that you want it on the card so that it will pull it. It's as simple as that. And then you just got to make sure that it is truly not past the fold. So what I just did here was I sat it up right, and I kind of made sure that I pushed to make sure that I had a good clean spot for it and that it was holding it well. Shouldn't say clean spot. I meant, things in the way. Okay. So now I'm going to put the little banner on. And again, I work from the inside out on these because that's where your mechanisms are. So if your mechanisms don't work and you have to take something apart to make them work, you don't want that to happen. And your rest of your card is just fine. So you want to make sure that you have taken care of the big areas that could go wrong, because, you know, when you don't think about it, that's when they go wrong, right? Okay, I'm putting it basically straight over that line so that nobody knows that I just joined two pieces of scrap paper together, except for you, me, and whoever else is paying attention right now. Now, when I decided to put my scraps on there, you have to also think about how far down, because that line, if I put it too far down here, then you would have never seen the red. So you kind of have to stop and think about where things are going to be positioned with a card like this. Okay, and I am not going to foamy it. Well, I think that I can. I've got a low enough foamy. It may work just fine. And I've got a nice little cup area, if you want to call it that. You use a coffee cup for, oh. Yeah, you could put your tea bags in here. Okay, so there is our little birdie, and he should be able to pop down and go right inside. Here's the moment of truth. Keep in mind, you'll just have to move them a little bit. They're going to be stiff, just like anything else. I may have to cut off those little corner pieces after all. It looked like it was going to clear it, but when I go to pull it out, it's sticking on it a little bit when I go to push it back in. So it either needs to curl in maybe just a little bit or something. I think the glue is kind of causing a curve to it. So, yep, I'll have to cut off those little edges on there. Well, lesson learned, lesson learned. Okay, so now we're going to go to the next part, which is the outside lid and area. So I'm going to make my piece of mat first. I'm using the word matte because that's specifically what they're using. So then that way you know what I'm talking about. When you go to try and make it with the directions, it will feel familiar already, hopefully. These are definitely not hard to cut there, so you're not having to put a lot of pressure on your hand. And the bigger the scissors, the less likely it will hurt too, because it doesn't take anything at all to close them, because I'm not going fast. I'm not going back and forth where it would hurt my hands to push back and forth with it. So that matters to me anyways. Okay, so all the goodies that go on this card I got from the topper set. This one, which we use the bird in it in the last card that I had the example of. Okay, so looky there, all nice and ready to go. Make sure that you do your linen side I chose a black that was more chalky. And I got to thinking about it. You know, you could have a lot of fun with the black use, and we've got the white metallic pins for waxes. Well, you can use your white pieces to write on your black cardstock. That would be a fun way to kind of make it unique and different. So I thought about doing that, but then I made the decision that I had too much that I already had planned for, and that would just take a little bit of extra time that I wasn't ready to do. Okay, so let's see. All right, I have my 2 roses. I have a couple of border options because these are what I have that are left over from, I literally just took what I had from the rest of the kits and said, okay, we're going to make a card with this. Now, you can use a mat just like I did on this one. You can put your background paper here, just like I put background paper here. But I'm not, and then I had run my inking across it. But in this particular case, I want my roses to really stand out, and that black really makes them pop. It's really pretty. So I'm going to keep those in place. And instead, I'm just going to kind of decorate it up with what I've got going on here. So I think I want to do it similar to the other one where I've got a bar down here to go off of. And it looks like, cut it right here. And I wasn't sure which bar I was going to want after I've put it all together. And I might find that I want a different fancy too. I think I want it way down there. All the toppers come, there's 4 different topper sheets, and then you have these regular, like copy paper thick backgrounds that go with it. And there's, there isn't quite 2 a piece, but you're pretty close. Actually, it might be 2 a piece. And so you have all of these that come in the set, just like when you buy a luxury kit from Hunky Dory. This is kind of their version of what they would consider to be a class kit. So it's not quite as fancy, although this one has the nice pretty foiled pieces, and so I think that this one is a good kit. Some of the ones don't have foiling, and so it doesn't look as rich, but this had really rich print and everything else. I really like it a lot. Okay, so let's see. What do I want to do next? Yeah, I think I like that. I think I am going to make it, I'm going to try and make it so that I can make that round-ish. We'll see if I can make that happen. No, thought maybe I could copy it from the other way. Ah, here we go. I fold it in half. Maybe I can see what direction I need to go to keep it round. Or a punch of some sort probably would have done the trick, but that worked just great. Yes, feel like it might be a masquerade ball type of card with all the drama pieces to it, or maybe a Phantom of the Opera card. somebody as a fan of Phantom of the Opera. I do in my house. That's why I thought of it. Okay. So from here, we're now going to go through and make some final decisions on what we want to do. I have these leftover pieces that are just kind of available to me if I want to use them, that were extras. And I wasn't sure if I would use any of them. So I kind of set them aside as a just in case type of thing. This says congrats on your special day. This one says happy anniversary. And this one says wishing you the happiest of birthdays. And so I think that I want to stick with my happiest birthdays idea. And I think I want to kind of build this up with the flowers and then decoupage up that flower onto a foamy square. Almost too much. Some of these you have to cut some of these label pieces out. Others you don't have to. They pop out just like this one just did. Could kind of set it up and make 3 flowers out of it. Maybe put in the pink one that way. I don't know. That probably will look too upside down. I don't know. What do you think? This would be the perfect time to grab a Hunky Dory's Delightful Florals. Need a little bit of extra floral? Just go to Hunky Dory. I guess if I went back to the other direction, I'd get the pink in the middle and have it right side up. So that might be how I'm going to do this. Uh-oh. There it is. Oh, yes. See, I like that one. I can't quite tip it up yet, but you'll see here in just a second, I think. All right. I want to put my fancies back exactly where I have them, so I'm going to try and keep them in place. Any questions? Yeah, these birds are really pretty. I like not only the pictures of the bird ones, but even their shadows are striking. Okay. So in a couple more weeks, we are having our building supplies arrive for making my mom's and my craft shed, where we're going to just be able to put all the different things that we have. And I think that that will make it easier for us to know what each other has so that we're not accidentally duplicating or somebody goes, oh, well, you have that, but I really would like some too, or I would like some more. And sometimes that will happen too, where I'll tell my mom, hey, I already have some of this. And so she'll say, oh, okay. And then she gets there and she's like, oh, I didn't know you didn't have a lot. So then she doesn't want to use it because she doesn't want to have me run out of something that's mine. And I told her, I've got more than enough. I have more than enough. So, yes, we have to build it all. It is going to be 12 feet wide by 24 feet long, or 12 feet deep by 24 feet long. That's probably the better way of saying it. Anyways, it comes with all the directions and comes with everything that you need except for the roof, the paint, and any of the, the roof, any insulation, drywall, and then anything that you want to put in the shed. So actual flooring, things like that. So my mom has been chomping at the bit since she moved up in May last year, even before she could unload everything. She wanted to know when we were going to build it. I said, well, Dad went down and he bought himself a hot tub. So we've got to do that enclosure first. And then we've got to. So I just helped Dad finish up his enclosure a couple weeks ago. And then I promptly started not feeling very good. And so I didn't get to help him with the last little bit, but it was stuff that he could do. So I was glad that I was not sick when he needed me the most. So yes, yay. All right. So here's number 3. No, 2. Here's number 2, and it's already 5:30. So I think that I'm going to have to tell you good night if you want to head off. And I'm just going to stay here and keep going. If you want to stay with me, you can. But don't feel like you have to. We will come back to it. But I did promise at the end I was going to tell you a little surprise. And that is that Debbie may love me, or she might not love me by the end of this. However, I think that I've done pretty good. So, if you were to buy the Little Birdies kit, the foils, and 2 of the templates, it would be a total of $33.96. But I broke down everything, and knowing kind of where everything sits, I was able to get the cost for everything down to $19. So you'll get the 2 templates, and you will get the topper set kit and the foilies for the $19. And it's not going to be a true kit, but I am going to put it up like a kit. that's probably not explaining well, but rather than you having to go through and buy them each separately, I'm just going to put them in a little bundle so that it's a bundle for this set. And then Mary and I can pull them and send them your direction. So I want to make sure that if you were going to sign off early, that you were aware that that was happening. Debbie doesn't know it, but she left me here. So I don't know if that's how that really works, though. Anyways, so we'll see. So I have decided that there's the opportunity to have a little sale on something. So, okay, so let me try again. Because I saw a please repeat. Okay, so the Little Birdies kit itself is normally $12.99. The foilies, the foiled fancies, are $6.99, and each template is $6.99 a piece normally. And so those totals come out to $33.96. And so what I was able to do is, rather than $33.96, if you were to buy everything separately, I can do it for $19 for the two templates that we have, the $12.99 for the Little Birdies kit and the $6.99 for the fancy foiling. So we're breaking it down and you're paying a little over half, but not by much. And if you want to add in the extra cards like the pocket and tags, it's $4.99 for any of the cards that are extra that Hot Off the Press makes. So $4.99 isn't bad when you're getting movable parts, but I like the fact that I can make them with the templates and it works great. As you saw, it was just really easy to mark it, cut it out. We just made a card with it just like that. So that is how it works. And yeah, so the curling has cut way back once it's starting to dry from the glue. So I think it's just a matter of moving it around a little bit more. So I do not have it up yet. It will be up before tomorrow morning. And so if you want to have something held for a little while, we can absolutely hold the items for you in our holding section if you want to buy them now and wait until you have enough for an order. I know that there were a lot of new and fun things that just came out. So I don't want to have you have ordered something and then turn around and not have to pay the shipping. So if you just let me know ahead of time that in your notes, just say, hey, I want this to go with my other order. And we'll try really hard to keep track of it so that we can send them all together. So that is what I am doing. And Debbie, if you're watching, I guess neener. I don't know. Anyways, yep. So I just kind of went through and figured out that we could absolutely do that realistically and still be able to pass that savings on to you. So if you want to hang out and sit and watch this with me, I've got the cool stuff, of course, coming up last, but it's the most work. So because of that, I saved it to last. Otherwise, we would have only gotten one card made. Okay, this is the double pocket treat. It will be on the website by tomorrow morning Eastern time. So in other words, I'm going to go home when I'm done with the class and I'm going to go type up anything that I need to do. And if I had thought about this earlier, I would have already had it up on the website. But thank you, Irene. I appreciate it. We already have that part figured out for today. So thank you for worrying about the post office. Okay, so when you get these, they're folded up nice and pretty, looking like a little Taj Mahal shape. And when you do them, you have to take it and fold them the other direction. So you're going to fold up the I'm going to hold it this way to make it easier to explain. So there are three technical folds here. So you're going to fold the fat on the left-hand side, and the whole thing folds. And then you're going to take and you're going to fold the right-hand side. And then you're going to take, and this was going the other direction. And so now it's folded up and in. So this is going to just sit just like that. And you can actually tuck extra things into it. Now you've got a tag hole here. And what I ended up doing on this one was I just went ahead and used my punch hole. I marked a little tiny dot in my paper so that I knew that that's where I needed to make the hole punch later and use that. This gives it a nice piece so that it can sit upright and it won't fall over by doing those folds that way. So that is how you take care of that or get it set up. Now there's also the tags and stuff that happen too, and you've got some patterns. So we will go over those things. But I want to show you, because if you take a closer look at all of this, this was just white paper, guys. Just like what you just saw. I did it. Now it's got background paper here, but there's no background paper over here. If you take all of your items out, I've got backing paper here, but it matches all the way around. So you're going to be able to see here in just a few minutes on how I was able to do that. Tuck my little tea bag back in there. So what I did was I grabbed the, fruit salad shimmer from Lisa Horton. Oh yeah, I just realized I'm using an entirely different set. And I thought, wait a minute, what happens if these colors don't work anymore? So I just had to stop and think about it for a moment. Okay, so this is the inside. This is not on the outside. This is just on the inside at this point. But I wanted to kind of go quickly and not have to do it on every single side for you, so that you're just sitting here waiting the whole time. So with this side is done for the inside. You don't need any more. If you really want, you can brush it a little bit more here and there if you feel like it. But this is really not going to be seen, but I do want it to at least blend in nicely. So on this, I'm not doing any pouncing on anything. I'm just going to start it, and I'm going to leave these bigger globs of built up ink, and then I'm just moving it around. And it's okay to leave them where they're at, because what I found was I did it on purpose, and I tried like 3 different kinds of ways to get the look that I was going for. And I thought one of these has to work. So I played with one way, and then I realized, nope, that doesn't work. I don't like that. And then I went and tried it another. That didn't work very well either. But since this is the inside, this is a great place to practice. And if you notice, if I'm tapping really lightly, I'm not getting as much on there to make big splotches if I just do some light tapping. So we're now just moving that ink around on the white, because the other, of course, had dried by now. So now that it is moist again by adding the extra ink, I'm actually able to move it around really easily. Okay. And then we're going to take this side. And we're going to do the same kind of a thing. So this is kind of starting from that scratch point, again with white paper. So I know that I have a fold here and a fold here and one here. I want to make sure that I get all of those pieces, but you don't have to unwrap everything and get it completely done with the fruit salad Lisa Horton ink. You're just going through and giving it some color. Move that around a little bit more. Don't be afraid to put on a good amount, because otherwise it ends up being too peachy and not red enough. And it's kind of, I didn't want a red, but I wanted something that was kind of a mix between a reddish pink and I'm just using the colors that were part of the backgrounds and things for the last one that I made. So this is going to just be similar, and it works really great. This is not a template, Irene. They do have it as a template on one of the CD-ROMs. Oh no, thank Debbie for the sale, Mary. She just doesn't know it yet. Oh dear, I could be in a lot of trouble, guys. No, I don't think I will be. So anyways, it's not in a regular template. Those sold out a while ago. But it is something that is on some of the CD-ROMs. I can find out which CD-ROM it's on, and then you can buy it and then use it as much as you want. If you purchase the CD-ROM, it means that you're purchasing the use of the items. So if you bought one of the card sets from there, you could just take and use those as your directions, but to make more. But you need to be able to pay for the intellectual property of knowing that somebody else made it. So we don't want to just copy what somebody did and make it our own. So this is the inside. Looks kind of interesting right now. The shimmers are really cool. Okay, I'm going to open these sections up. And I'm just going to put a little bit on the insides of each one, just because we don't want it to, you don't want to be able to see white down lower. And you definitely want to get these to all the edges. Okay, now this is the side that we just worked on that we added something to. This is the side I did earlier for your example. It is amazing how it comes out with this cloudy look to it. So my secret I am sharing with you after much deliberating about how I wanted to do it, or if I could do it that way. I then took my Distress Oxide. They're both watercolor based, so you're not going to have a fight with them, and they will blend nicely together. You can buy, yes, we currently have the Double Pocket Treat. That's the name of this one that I'm making right now. It's a Double Pocket Treat, and you've got the 4 cards with 4 tags and 4 envelopes. Wait, maybe 8 tags. Yeah, because you get a tag on each side. So 8 tags. Yeah, I can read up there. It even says so. 4 cards, 8 tags, and 4 envelopes. And you can absolutely make them and use them this way. They're $4.99 a pack. Or again, if you know that you like it after you've used it and tried it once, you can ask us and we can try and see which CD it's on for you to be able to buy it so that you can use it and make your own anytime you want. So if you saw, because I was talking about the other things, if you saw, look at how nicely that just blends right in and almost gives it a tie-dye effect. I'm not putting in tons. I'm just lightly tapping and then moving the ink around. So it's not as blotchy anymore. It fills in the spaces. Isn't that cool? So go figure. I figured out something new. So anyways, what I found is that I think that it works really well for blending, and depending on how the light hits it right now, I wouldn't want it to look like this all the way all over. I do have the other pieces of paper that I'm putting on top of this, and that's part of the reason why I don't think that it would look as good all on its own. But I will say that the computer or the video makes it look a lot blotchier than it really is. It actually blends together very smoothly and looks almost like a tie-dye effect. Now I want to go around and I'm making all of my edges in that darker purple. Just distressing out the edges, the tops, the rims. And this side I already did it. In fact, you can see where some of it got left a little bit darker. It looks like some really cool clouds just came in from nowhere and had a beautiful sunset on my piece of paper. Okay, so now I've got this. It took very little time and I got the entire thing covered. So it was really simple and easy. I didn't have to be absolutely gentle with it. And you can see that the purple actually has a little bit of the pearlescent now in it. You can see it where the light is hitting it on the left-hand side of your screen if you're looking at your screen. So you can have those pearlescents, they move around because of the watercolor and they blend to where you're getting that pearlescent blended in with that purple. And your left-hand side looks shinier just because it's had the opportunity to dry and how the light's hitting it. This side will do the exact same thing on the right that I just finished. Okay, so this is where you start. We're going to set it aside, let it dry, finish looking good. Okay. Alrighty, so what we have with this set is, I've got a lot of extra papers. I'm basically almost starting this one from scratch just because this was truly what my leftovers were. So I have inside your papers on the back side, it's got your patterns. One of the patterns is a triangle. And one of the patterns is that's the tags. One of them is the back side. It's called the inside pocket. So where you're putting this here, this becomes your mat for the backing of your pocket right back in here. Whoops. I was off screen. Sorry about that. So it will sit right in here. So you have to cut 2 of these. And you can cut up to 4 triangles, but you don't need to do that many triangles, honestly. You really don't. Like I said, on this one, I didn't put any fabric here. I didn't put any paper here at all. This is just from the molding of the 2 together. So let's take a look. I've got my triangles, 2 of them. So there is my pieces. I did have these cut from the previous one because I decided that I was going to not use all 4. I only wanted to use 1 because I wanted to show off the paper as well, or the tie-dye version. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. And then I have this leftover blue paper. And being that most of my finishing items for decorating are all in those pinks and blues, I made the decision that it would make a lot of sense to use that blue paper and just a little bit of the pink to finish it off. So I'm going to take and I'm going to make my tags out of one section. But then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to, where did it go? Oh, there it is. I'm going to use this, my inside pocket, and I'm going to use this on the blue. So I'm going to save my little swirls for my tags so that when you pull them out, they'll be really pretty and you'll notice them. Because this section, there's just not a lot that you're seeing when you put your items in. It's just truly kind of a little backing piece. You can tuck everything all the way in. And so, yes, you can see the paper, and it looks beautiful with the paper, but I don't think that it needs to be your fancy paper. I think that it works great as your background. So I'm going to move over to the blue sections. And I was looking at it because I was trying to save as much space as I could. And I do firmly believe that I don't need it to go as deep as this pattern shows, especially because I colored on the inside. I mean, I inked on the inside. So there's that. And you'll need 2 of them. And I don't want to get it into the other. So the other one, I'm going to try and make about the same size and keep it just in the blue. Does anybody have any other questions while I'm doing this? Because this is kind of things that I can stop and look up. And thank you guys for taking the time with me and hanging in there. It's nice to be able to know that you guys are enjoying it enough to stay up late. But it will still be there for you tomorrow to watch. And knowing how it usually works, we'll probably keep the sale up for this through the weekend. So if you want to watch a little bit more of the video and go over what I've done and look at and be able to follow those directions, I tried to talk you guys through as much as possible, so then that way you could see more cards and not just be limited to the 3 that we were making today. And I have one more other secret. There's actually the availability for us to make one more card after this, but it's only because I wanted to play with the inks. And I had a great idea, and I think you'll like my idea. So I will show you when we're done what I did. And if you guys want to watch me do one, I will do one. But I won't take up the whole evening of your time. Okay, so we have 2 of these. So now make sure that you keep your inside because it looks a little wild and crazy without having that. And you're just going to take and slide this right in here in the pocket. And so I ended up using the flags to do this. It made it really easy to take it from the bottom and pull up. Gluing, I was finding that to slide it in, it would catch on the different places. Now I could probably open it all the way up and do it from that way as well, but then I can't see exactly what's laying in front of me and what that's actually looking like. And then when you get ready to fold it again, it might not fold in the same direction, right? So do all 4 sides. And then you're going to just take a little tiny bit of tape and you're going to put it right smack in the middle. And this is how you're going to be able to make it to place it where you want it. Take that little tiny square off. Slide this down until you know that it's where you want it to be. And you might have to trim off some of your extra sticking over parts to your flag because it won't fit. I mean, it is a nice snug piece, so slide it on in. Move it to where you want it to look like. Okay, it looks like I have an even spacing all the way around. Now I can open it up, push that little square in the middle, and now I can open it up and it's not going to move on me, and I can pull all the flags, or I can pull all of them and kind of basically have a little tape flag around the entire edge. You know, ingenuity is just saying that somebody had to make a mistake and figure out how not to make the same mistake again. And that was my experience. So I thought, how can I explain it so that it goes really smoothly? So see, you're never going to see any of the white stuff that's in the middle unless you fold it like this, and it needs to be folded like this. Yeah, the price for the cards are $4.99 a pack. You don't have to use it for tea. You can use it for anything, and you can put gift cards in there. You know that I'm a big supporter of the gift card idea because every kid wants one. Or anything small, really, you could put in there. Credit card. Yeah. Somebody will want that. Hey, around my house, my husband could just put the keys in it, or my phone, or something else, because maybe I would remember that when I don't remember my phone and I drive all the way here. And by the way, my phone has a case, so it's got my driver's license in it, it's got my credit cards in it, it's got my phone in it, it's got everything that I need. And so yesterday I forgot to bring it. I left it sitting at the house. And I made the mistake and pulled them all off. Well, wonderful. That's what happens when you get to talking. So anyways, I didn't have my phone all day, and I didn't have any way to get some food or anything else. So it was a very interesting day yesterday. But in the process, my husband noticed. So he says, please don't forget your phone today. Please make sure that you have it. And I said, okay, honey, I will. And I didn't forget my phone today with my purse that goes in it, but I did forget my keys. So, you know, there's that. So I had to ask Jordan to let me in. So, you know, one day I'll have my head on straight and be able to remember things, but I think that from having COVID earlier this last year, for the first time, because I hadn't had it before, and then I think after getting my COVID shot about 2.5 weeks ago now, maybe even 3, I think that it's just taking me a long time to recover from it. It's been hard that way. So I think that I'm just tired easily, and I don't think straight when I'm tired. And I think that's probably like everybody. So, okay. So now we have our tags to do. And all that I'm going to do on the tags is do that little bit of purple around the edges. And you could choose something else instead of purple. Like I said, it's what I was using when I did the last set. And technically there is no purple in this set, so you could do it in blue. You want to do it on both sides because you can decorate both sides. And the way that they showed it is that you just have the tags, but I wanted to have something on the tags that looked really pretty as a background piece. So I basically took the first insert and or the first pattern from the tag, and I just went through and I made it narrower and shorter by just a little tiny bit on each side. And by doing it that way, I now have a pattern that I've created for it to make a little background piece for each of the tags. And if you have a tag template at home or a tag shaped die, you can totally use those in place of these too. So this is my template that I made. So I basically just went through and did this. And if you can see, I drew on it. I basically took it and I moved it up here and I drew and then I cut it. So then it brought my tag down a little bit. And then I went and I cut off each of the 2 sides. And that's how I made the pattern for my backgrounds. So let's see how many backgrounds we can get. And I think what I want to try and do is get as much of the pattern as I can too. And it really looks good on the bottom. But if I do too much, then I will have taken it from the other side. So I think if I go right up here and then I turn around and I flip it the other direction and go here, I think that it will turn out good. Yeah, I think that should fit it in. Oh, look at that. Perfect. Almost perfect. Should have probably moved it up just a smidge more, but that's okay. We can share a line there. And just for time saving, I am going to just make one side of the tags because I think that you kind of get the idea from here on how to do it. So then I can move on to the other thing that I just had to play with today because I was already playing with the inks last night, trying to figure out what colors I wanted to use, how I wanted to have it look. And I came up with this great thing that I thought would be just perfect. And it was just perfect. So all I have to say is it's neat. So even if you have to go to bed, which I totally understand, you should come back and watch what I have at the very, very end. So there's 2, and I should still be able to get 1 out of any of these. I should be able to get 2 between all of these papers. I should be able to get 2 more tags. And if I can't, for some reason, I've also got that extra little bit of linen that I ended up using, but I'm sure that I will be able to get through that without a problem. Okay. So let's get my pattern out of there. And this pattern out of there. And now it's all about putting everything on now that the item is dried. So we've made all of our pattern pieces that we need. So I've got my 2 backgrounds for my 2 tags. And I'm going to attach one here. And I'm going to attach one here. And if I was doing it, right now and doing 2 of them, I'd probably make one side be the one that's going to stick out that's blue on one side, and then one that's pink on the opposite side, or whatever you have for your papers. Just because in that way they're not exactly the same. So I've got Bless Your Nest. Ooh, see, that would be good. Somebody has a housewarming. You want to bring a gift. Look at that. See, perfect place for a gift card. Bless Your Nest. There's little hearts. There's flowers. So you've just got lots and lots of opportunity to put whatever you want on here. Love you. Celebrating you. There was another one that was out here somewhere. You can also cut your little flags like this in half and tie them in with your hole up at the top. And so you've made kind of like another little tag right on here. I'll go ahead and do it on one of these just because they're fun to do that way. They look neat. They almost kind of look like a keychain attached to a group of keys, but in this case, it's tags. Man, my hands are all different kinds of colors right about now. So I'm just taking it and taking an opposite tag effect. So I'm now taking it this way. So I've cut my little piece to where it has two of the same types of ends. So this is just right through here. So I went in an angle, came out the other side on an angle, and now I have another little tag. And you can then use this short one, or you can create another end piece and then go from there. And if you have a hole punch handy, you can decide how big you want the holes to be with this memory keeper one, and it will make as small as a 1/16 of a hole. So that's pretty amazing. So I thought, well, it would be fun to be able to put some of your tags together. There we go. So then I got some ribbon. And again, I would normally decorate the opposite side as well. And then you still got some foil fancy borders and things like that that you can use on these. And you might find that that's fun too. I know you've just always wanted to watch me tie knots. But then you can just decorate it up however you want, put whatever you want onto them. These foamy quite nicely just because it has a little bit of extra space in there. Smaller one. Kind of like it that way. There are all these little tiny, it looks like almost like lemon slices on these foilies. Foilies. Look, I'm making up my own names now. On these foiled fancies. I noticed that they have what looks to be like a whole bunch of lemon slices, but I think it was supposed to be like a gear or something, but it just cracks me up because it looks like a lemon slice to me. Okay, so you just want to kind of decorate it up in a way that you like with the papers that you have left, or you can make these first if you really like. You've got to just kind of decide what you like the most and then go from there. Because if you have one that you really like, then you should use your favorite pieces with those. And that's what I did the first time around. I really loved what I was able to find. And all of them are beautiful. All of them are pretty. So from here, I would normally let this dry a little bit more. I'd probably put a jewel right there in the flower. And I just don't want to knock that butterfly off because he's still drying. But basically, they just sit like this in here. And you've got a hole on both sides of the back of these right here, that you can see where the hole punch is. And so in order to do the hole punch for joining them together with ribbon, it's got a bigger hole. So I moved to my 3 16ths, and I can actually just go through and see the hole through the little spot and punch it. And like I said, on the last one, I made a little dot on the paper because I could see it through the hole. And so I took my leaded pencil and did it that way. But this works just as well. Okay. So when you're done and you've figured out what you want on everything, again, we're working out inside to out. So now I can put my triangles on the outside piece like this. And you have made yourself a pocket tag card. Okay. And there you go. The other one will go in the other side, just like this. You finish them off. You can put, I've got borders that are still left over here. I've got little sayings and some flowers. And then you can also add any of your extras that you have. So using some of the extra little birdie flowers and kind of tucking them in and making them part of your card will look beautiful. See what I mean by having that background on there? It's really neat to be able to see that. So that is all 3 of the cards, and considering that we made them from scratch with nothing but our templates, I think that we did pretty well in the time that we had. Thank you for sticking with me a little bit longer. I really appreciate it. And last thing, and we may want to find that Debbie may want to just cut this and put it on a totally separate video, but that means that Bryce or I have to do it. So that may take a little bit more time. So, oops. So I don't think that we would set it up as a separate video right away. But remember how I said that These would make beautiful backgrounds for things, and you could do it on so many different things. I got to thinking about it, and these are really bold colors. This was one of the things that came in new on What's New Wednesday yesterday. And I thought, you know, those are really bold colors, and I wonder what it would look like if they were a little bit more subdued. Would I like it more? I already like the shapes and what it has to give, and so I thought, you know, that's pretty neat. The other thing when I use this is that they don't cross over each other. So you don't have to. The leaf one you do, but on this particular one, you don't have to worry about, do I use the light first? Do I use the dark first? I don't know. What happens if I, so, so I got to thinking about the fact that I'd kind of almost run out of all of my papers, except for the one that I didn't really want to use. I love the paper. It just doesn't seem to be fitting with what I was making. So I couldn't seem to find a space for it. So I thought, well, I have one more bird left. He's beautiful. And she's beautiful because it's very dark in colors. There's not a lot of color in the bird. So I'm going to guess it's a girl. I'm saying it's a girl. There. How do you like that? Okay. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to take and line this up in a way that makes sense to me so that I know if it moves or not. And yes, I could use my stamping platform or my Debbie's ultimate platform, but I didn't see, I figured this isn't going to move if I put it on the glass, and I was right. It's not that difficult to work with. So you take and make sure that your Sizzix is reading the correct direction. You've got your little holes right up here if you're using one of their mats. I'm sure that it's very similar. There's a line all the way around, and so you can see where it's going to stop. And they actually list this as an A6. And you don't have to limit it just to A6s. It's got a beautiful framing that goes around it when you use it this way. So I have pink champagne shimmer. It goes from a hot pink to a light green. And the only thing that I really noticed with this is that you have to kind of go around both directions in order for it to get into the stencil, because it doesn't seem to get into every ridge always easily. And the neat thing with this is that, like I said, it doesn't cross over the stencil. So you can actually just see where your next stencil goes with this pattern. And if you use these with your colors or with your Jamie powders, you can make some pretty cool backgrounds, would be my guess. And you can basically make it anytime to fit what it is that you are wanting to make without a problem. So there's number one. Oh, tried moving. And then here is number two. I obviously moved my stencil just a tiny bit on the last one. So I was doing this in by order of color, light to dark. And I thought that I was doing that But then, like I said, I didn't notice until afterwards that I hadn't, what's the word that I'm trying to say? That I didn't need to stick within each one. What is the one that I used next? This is the pink champagne. Done that. This is the crushed velvet shimmer. Problem is I'm not seeing my brush for that one now, so I may not have used this one. I do know that I used this one. Oh, I know what it is. It's this one. Sorry. It is the crushed velvet shimmer. It's going to add a little bit of gold in there. This is a juicy ink pad. Don't move. And what I noticed is how not only how simple it is to do, but how quick it is to do. Okay, so the next one up is the Teal Twist Shimmer. Oh, need a stencil first. This is number 3. And like I said, basically as soon as I started it, you could see exactly where it was going. Boop, 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 boop. Moved that time. So I know that Debbie has done some of these things before with the black and the pictures, but I thought this is a different way to use her ink, and it's a great way to have backgrounds for yourself, and you can just make all the ones you want, truly. This is the Cherry Bomb Shimmer, and this is stencil number 4. I didn't actually end up using this one. I used the Warm Chestnut Shimmer. It has a really dark purple, and I thought that it would be beautiful on this. And this one just goes from one dark purple to the next dark purple. So it looks purple, but it also dries with a purple hue. think that I put on that different color that was more a brown looking color at the beginning. I don't think that I had actually used that one the last time around, because it does look a little bit different. So I used the teal twist the first time, the pink champagne, the warm chestnut, and the cherry bomb. So those were the 4 that I used the first time. And so look at the difference just in changing one color in here. And it's kind of hard to see on the computer when it's flat, so it doesn't like have this great huge big reveal. And as it dries, it gets a little bit brighter. But look at these. Isn't that pretty? Now you have great backgrounds for the things that you want, and it's not bold and you know, the pictures were just so bright, and it's not usually, some of those colors are my colors that I enjoy, but it just seemed like it was really busy. But by changing it up and subduing it a little bit and changing the colors that you use, it really makes a night and day difference. So isn't that just amazing? And like I said, I only changed one thing, and it's that blue. Everything else is the same and in the same order. So look at my little bird now, because I didn't have anything purple. And I was really thinking, what am I going to do? So I still want to put a mirror backing on it, or have something, and then stand it up and out with a foamy square pop. But look at that. It just brought the picture to life, and it also brought the background towards the front. So thank you so much if you stuck with me for a whole extra 40 minutes, but I just thought that it would be so much fun to show you these things when I had the opportunity and I was here and I was doing it. So thank you so much, and we will take a look at putting this up so that you guys can see it and how to use the Sizzix stencils, or you can always come back here at the end and watch what we've got. So thank you so much, guys. Oh, here's the rest of that frame too. And it really adds to it as well. Look at that. It literally looks like it's shining in on it. Isn't that neat? So wonderful things that came in yesterday, wonderful things that we did today. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate your patience, and I hope that you have a great rest of your weekend. And I will be taking orders tomorrow, and tomorrow morning it will be up for you to be able to have that sale. So thank you so much, and have a great rest of your evening or a good night. Thanks. Bye.